Welcome to the Startup Grind.
Welcome to Startup Grind. And before we get into PEPZambia, basically we want to know who Bayo is. So we just know who we're talking to. So maybe if you could just start by introducing yourself.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm not normally nervous. For the first time in my life, I'm incredibly nervous. Okay. So my name is Bayo. At least you didn't call me Bayo Akindeinde. So I'm not going to tell you where to vote. But anyway, my name is Bayo Akindeinde. It's Adebayo's full name, but I use Bayo, so that's fine. So I run, as Shube has said, I run Private Enterprise Program Zambia. It's a DFID funded program, and what we're doing is primarily looking at using entrepreneurship as a way of improving livelihoods, as a way of improving the GDP of Zambia. So it's UK government funded, and that's the rationale behind our program. Now, in terms of what I've done before, I've run different projects in different countries, and it spans from working in the UK, supporting small businesses in Birmingham and the West Midlands. And then I did some work in Russia, and then in Central Eastern Europe, running programs for the European Union. And I spent a lot of time in Bosnia, in Bulgaria, in Serbia, Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania. So it's quite interesting. So basically I've moved, if you like, from developed economy to transition economies to conflict economies, now to sub-Saharan Africa, to emerging economies. So, yeah.
Okay, great. Can you just tell us about PEPZambia?
Okay. Sure. So PEPZambia, as I said, it's a DFID funded program. And the rationale behind the program is very simple. If you look at the GDP of Zambia, before last year, it was averaging 7 to 8% per annum, which is very impressive when you understand that the GDP of most developed economies is less than 1% per annum, which is supposed to be good. So for Zambia, the GDP is very good. But then if you ask ordinary citizens, do you see an improvement in your livelihoods? They'll give you a blank look. It's like, what are you talking about? So the problem there was that GDP was good, but it wasn't inclusive growth. So there is growth, but it's not inclusive. So yes, people are making money, but it's not filtering or trickling down. So what DFID was trying to do is to say, look, let's look at how best to improve livelihoods in Zambia. Now you could do it for investment in infrastructure, you can invest in education, you can invest in health, but you can also invest in entrepreneurship. And that's what the reasoning behind our program is to look at entrepreneurship as a way of improving Zambia's fortunes. Full range of activities, from a startup, so we have Nyamuka Zambia, looking at startups in Zambia, small businesses, to BDS, that's providing support to growing companies, and then to linkages programs that we have, whereby we're saying, look, you are a business, you're established, you want to supply a much bigger firm, how do we support you to do that? So an accelerator fund we have in Solwezi, in northwest Zambia, but we're piloting a new thing to say, look, we're going to run a mini venture capital to support businesses who are willing to grow by providing finance, but not just finance and technical support. So we have a mini venture capital and accelerator fund in Solwezi, in northwest Zambia, because of course, as you all know, there are three big mining institutions. There's Kansanshi, there's Kalumbila, there's Lumwana, all in Solwezi. So what we're saying to ourselves is, this is a new Commonwealth, if you like. So how best can we support growth in there with SMEs? And we're trying to make sure we can do that with this small fund. But again, for me, one of the exciting bits of our program is the linkages program, where we've signed partnership agreements with the likes of ShopRite, with Zambi, with Spar, with Toyota, with Total, to say, look, we want you to buy more locally. We want you to deal more with Zambian SMEs. Not for corporate social responsibility, but because it makes commercial sense. So we're trying to help those businesses develop by linking them with bigger revenue generating sectors in Zambia.
So how are you identifying the Zambian companies that are benefiting from linkages?
Good. We're working the other way around. We're starting by going to the big companies and telling them, who are the small companies who either want to work with you, but they're not good enough, or those who are working with you, but are likely to be kicked off because they're not very good. So we're starting from that point of view, rather than trying to work with everyone, because we're a small group. So ShopRite, for example, has given us a list of about 30 SMEs, Zambian SMEs, some of whom are not quite good enough, some of whom they want to work with ShopRite, but they're not on the list yet. And our job is to support those companies by, first of all, doing a diagnostic. Because it's like when you go to the doctor and say to the doctor, I'm not feeling very well, rather than just write you paracetamol or ibuprofen, they ask you questions like, what did you have for breakfast? How old are you? What's the problem? So we're doing a diagnostic on those small businesses. After the diagnostic, we identify issues of concern to those businesses. Then we go back to ShopRite. We say to ShopRite, okay, we've been to X Limited. We found out what the problems are. If we fix those problems, will you buy more from them? If they say no, we're out. If they say yes, then we'll put more money into supporting that business. Because what we're trying to do is not just build capacity. Because I've seen lots of programs where they come in, they build your capacity and then they disappear. We're saying we will build your capacity to increase the number of transactions with the bigger firm.
Okay, so for the firms that are already, the big players already have Zambian entrepreneurs, is it possible for other Zambian entrepreneurs that are not listed to come on board through PEPZambia?
Yes, it is. As I said, we started off not trying to advertise for companies to come to us, but going back to the big firms and saying, who wants to work with you? Now, hopefully we'll exhaust that very soon. Then we'll move on to those who come up to us and say, look, I'm a small business, this is what I do, can I work with you? And we already have one or two of those. We'll never say no to anyone. But we have to be gradual because we're a small program, over 5 years with 14 staff. So we can't possibly deal with everyone. So our strategy is to say, look, we'll be very selective in who we work with. But yes, we also welcome people coming to us, saying, I would like to supply Zambia, I would like to supply Spa. How can you help me do that?
Okay, and do you plan on getting more companies? You mentioned Toyota, ShopRite. Are you in the process of getting more big players?
We would like to, but we have to be very careful. Because as with everything, you don't want to overstretch yourself, and then you can't deliver. So we do have companies signed up. We've also signed up a lot of mining companies. But as you know, the mining industry is going through a downturn. So what we're finding is that the mining companies, yes, they're very interested, but they say, look, you know what, we're on care and maintenance, so just hold off for now. So our focus now is on the supermarket retail chains. We're also looking at, as I said, Total and Toyota. And we're looking at others. We're looking at Zambia as well. They're quite interested to see how they can work with us. Yeah. So if there's a problem, your suppliers will stand up for you and say, you know what, you can't touch that business because we deal with supply. Thirdly, when you deal with Zambian suppliers, you pay in kwacha. Not South African rand, not US dollars, not British pounds, you pay in kwacha. So you're not subject to currency volatility. Makes sense, because you can plan ahead. Fourthly, is that you then have a faster turnaround, right? And for the environment, it's much greener. Because rather than bringing a truck from Johannesburg, you can bring in a truck or supplies from Chipata, from the northern province, from southern province, and it's all within Zambia. So on all counts, it makes sense to buy local.
So Bayo, having been in Zambia for some time now and looking at our startup scene, what are some of the common challenges that you see that startups go through in Zambia? Yes.
It's very easy to fall into the trap of saying access to finance is an issue. But actually, I wouldn't say that. Because access to finance is not an issue. There's plenty of money in Zambia.
Most of us think finance is an issue.
Absolutely wrong. Wrong. Finance is not a problem in Zambia. There's plenty of money in Lusaka if you have a good business model and you understand how business works. So money is not the issue. The issue, from my point of view, from what I've seen so far, is consistency. Right. So I run a business today as Bayo Limited, and I make a bit of money. You need to understand, it's like running a marathon. It's not a 100-meter sprint. You have to keep going and keep improving day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out. The problem I find, and I see it already, is that businesses do very well the first couple of months, the owners get complacent, and they're not consistent. That's the first problem that I see for startups. You've got to be consistent. Second is focus. You are running a business, not a charity. Simple things like, yes, you have your funeral. You cannot dip into the company's finances. Somebody's funeral. Yes, your relatives think you're all a big business person, and therefore they come to you. But you cannot do that, right? You are running a business. You've got to focus. You've got to be tight with your cash flow. It's very simple. You've got to be disciplined and also understand your business lines as well. Now, I find a lot of people come up to us and say, right, I want to do better, I've got 5 ideas. And I tell them, waste of time. Focus on one idea. Drill down on that idea. Drill down to the nth degree. So if you're waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning and somebody says poultry, you know everything about poultry. Now it's a bit about poultry, a bit about selling water, a bit about selling wine, a bit about doing this, a bit about doing that. You can't be a jack of all trades. Focus on one thing. Be the best in that one area. So if you like, 3 key areas: focus, consistency, and a bit of discipline.
Okay. And could you just explain about Nyamuka Zambia? Is it going to be running every year? I've noticed that you've just started the second season.
Yes. Now, Nyamuka Zambia round 1 was very successful. We're now in round 2. Now, ideally, I keep telling people this, and I hope I don't get into trouble for saying this. Our idea as a DFID program is to work ourselves out of a job. And I'll tell you now, if DFID is still here in 10 to 15 years' time, then we have all failed, woefully. Development support or aid is meant to be temporary, not permanent. So our job is to act as a catalyst. You know, remember chemistry in school? A plus B equals C. And that bit over the equal sign is where the catalyst comes in. That's what we are. We're simply a catalyst. No more than that. We don't have the ideas. All we do is make it happen faster and make it happen better. As a catalyst does, increase efficiency and effectiveness. That's it. That's all we're supposed to do. So to answer your question directly, Nyamuka Zambia is very good. But I'm hoping that for the 3rd round, it will not be us running it. It should be a Zambian institution running it, with some help from us, and then by the 4th round, it's entirely Zambia. It should not be us running Nyamuka Zambia again. We should get to the point where we've developed the structure, it's running very well, and it's entirely Zambia. And I should be out of a job by then.
So for PEPZambia, what is the goal for, what do you want to see out of Nyamuka Zambia?
What we want to see is attitudes changing to entrepreneurship. I keep telling people, it's not the prize. The prize is secondary, actually. People say, oh, it's 250,000 kwacha, it's secondary. What is more important to me is that you come up to us with a concept, saying, I want to sell clothes. So that's a raw concept. And we help you develop the idea from how to sell clothes, how to market clothes, how to cost for it, how to source the material, how to make sure you meet customers' needs. Now it's much more important. So even if you don't win, you've done very well. Now, if we see more people doing that, I'm happy. As I said, honestly, the price is secondary. Yeah, it's good to win 2,000 kwacha, but that's secondary. And last year, we had a lady who didn't win, but carried on in business, and that for me is a real result. That we change attitudes to entrepreneurship. Not something you do because you haven't got something else to do, but something you do because it's a genuine option.
So, with your experience, Bayo, having worked in many different sectors, countries, and having come to Zambia, would you say our environment here is more enabling for the entrepreneur?
Okay. It is very enabling. Before I came here, as I just said before my CV, I'd worked in different countries, and my last posting was in Nigeria. And you can tell from my name, I'm Nigerian origin. Okay. So I went to work in Nigeria. Nigeria is hard. Lots of opportunity, but it's tough. Okay. So I love Nigeria, but it's a tough environment. It's competitive. It's aggressive. It's moving very fast. It's vibrant. You can make a lot of money. You can also lose a lot of money. Now contrast that with coming to Zambia, which is much more calm, much more relaxed. It's easy go. It means there are lots of opportunities here that you can take advantage of. But I'm not sure that there's not enough, how can I put it, fire in the belly. But there will be more as time goes on. Because you become more competitive, the population increases. There's demand for resources. There's competition for resources. And that will push you to become more competitive. So it's not good or bad. It's just different situations, different circumstances, resulting in different characteristics in people who go into entrepreneurship. So to answer your question directly again, yes, it is much easier to do business here. Absolutely. And if you look at, one of the things I did in Nigeria when I worked in Nigeria was for the World Bank, looking at doing business rankings. Zambia is much higher up the league actually. So Zambia is a much easier destination to set up and run a business. So take advantage of that.
Okay, so earlier you said that financing is not an issue. What advice would you give to someone who thinks, they have this brilliant idea and obviously financing is an issue. How do they overcome such a challenge?
I'm going to start from basics. I've got a phone. I'm very old-fashioned. I've got a phone. It's a horrible phone. It's a BlackBerry. Do you know how much these cost? No. When I bought this 2 years ago. I'm very old-fashioned, as you get one of the newer phones. This cost £300 when I bought it ages ago. Now, in Zambia, I go out and I go to restaurants and I meet people, young and old, all sorts of people. Everyone's got a better phone than I have. These phones are expensive. Well, did you get a grant for the phone? No. Did you go to the bank for a loan for the phone? No. You raised money for the phone. I'm trying to make a point here. The point is very simply this. Sometimes people tend to divorce business from personal. So when they want to go on holiday to Dubai, or when they want to buy a new suit or a new car, it's okay to raise finance from family or friends. But all of a sudden, when you want to run a business, you think, I should take the risk, but you should take no risk. It doesn't work that way. If you really are serious about your business idea, you'll put all your money into it, actually. If you really believe it's going to work, you'll put your money in. What is more important is the ability, when I look at you, to convince me that you have a fantastic business idea. Because once you do that, the money will come to you, actually. Not you chase the money. If you have to chase the money, sorry, it's wrong. The money should come to you. But when you look at all the businesses that have done very well, and this is not me, they start off with personal finance, they rate everything, the husband or wife or the spouse says, you know what, you're crazy with this business idea, you're mad, you're ruining the family. Then the guy goes to family and friends, then he raises additional finance, then they get fed up with him or her, and then raises more money, and the business thrives. Why do you think that happens? And yet you get individuals who write a nice business plan, it looks very good, they don't want to take any risk, and then the business doesn't work. There has to be fire in the belly. There has to be passion. And trust me, there is enough money around for good business ideas. There really is.
So for a startup bio, say for instance, I have a company, I'm a startup, and probably I'm struggling in the area of keeping my books. Do you have any products for startups like me who would be struggling in one area or the other?
That's a difficult question. We work through BDS providers. To use jargon, business development service providers. So we don't do that ourselves because that's very basic requirement. So we have companies who come to us saying, I'm going to support 55 small businesses, and we will give them a grant to share the risk of them supporting small businesses. So it is those companies who you would work with if you can't produce your accounts or you can't write your books. So you would go to them and they will say, you know what, thanks very much, Shubikile. We can help you write your books, help you do your books so you know how much it's costing you to sell this product and how much you sell it for, how much you price it for, and how to put together your books. But we directly as a program, we don't do that. Not directly. But indirectly, yes, we do that. Does that make sense?
Product development, in terms of the products that you come up for the Zambian entrepreneurs, how do you come up with those? You mentioned BDS, linkages, you talked about venture financing, yes. The one happening in Solwezi. Why isn't it happening in Lusaka?
Honestly, Lusaka has too much money. Look, I'm not as young as I look, but if I were younger, I'll be in Solwezi tomorrow. I went by road to Solwezi, 10 hours. It's not very pleasant, but that is where the action is. When the price of copper picks up and there's a boom there, that is where the action is, I'm afraid. It really is. Somebody's going to provide housing. Somebody's going to provide services to people working in the mines. Who's going to do that? It's not good everyone sitting in Lusaka. That's where the action is. So honestly, if I were younger, I'd be in Solwezi.
It sounds like we have to move to Solwezi, right?
Look at Zambia's land mass. I mean, the population of Zambia is how much? 15 million people? Do you know what the population of Nigeria is?
2 million.
Do you know what the population of Lagos State is? 18 million people. So Nigeria has 36 states. So one state in Nigeria is more than the whole of Zambia. Now what does that tell you? It's densely populated. And those people need to be fed, don't they?
Yes.
So I've answered the question, haven't I? So you have land, you have sun, you have water, You know that quote you get at every conference in Zambia? 60% of the water in Southern Africa is in Zambia. You know what? Stop quoting it, start doing it. So if you add up those things together, West Africa needs food and has a huge teeming population. You have lots of land, you have sun, you have water. Sorry, get the food to people who need it. So without doing any analysis, these are the two things I will come up with right away.
I hope someone's going to register a company tomorrow.
What advice can you give to someone that is looking into those sectors, because they might not be interested in mining, but their focus is on something else? Thank you.
So, but they're interested in services. They want reliable service providers who can support them. And they focus on their core business, which is to sell cars and to maintain cars. That's their core business. Anything else is a non-core business activity. So why spend time and effort doing that? They would rather somebody who can add value to those particular services. But I think there's scope for everyone. So it's interesting that sometimes you have to be pushed, or something triggers something in you. But there are some guys who don't need to be pushed at all. They just look at you and say, you know what, I'm going to do my own thing. And they do very well. So honestly, it really comes from within. There's no formula.
So what I would like to know is, when do you call it quits? When do you know that, okay, it's time up, let me go on to my next idea as an entrepreneur?
I have lots of friends who are farmers who are doing very well in Zambia. Now, it'd be very foolish of me to leave my job, right, tomorrow, and then say, I'm going to be a farmer, and I'm going to do wheat and soybean and cattle. Yeah? It sounds really good, doesn't it? I'm going to fail. You know why? I have no idea when the planting season is. I don't know the front end of a cow from the back end of a cow. So how is it going to work? But what tends to happen is that most people have an idea, and they start kind of doing it before it happens. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you're already doing it. So by the time you leave your job, you actually have, you know who the customers are. And one thing Brad McGrath from Zona said this last week, that it's very simple. You have to tie down sources of revenue. Once you tie that down, then that's okay. Half the job is done. So if you're in a sort of paid job, the first thing I would say is find out who's going to pay you for what you want to do and tie them down. If you don't tie them down, then you're living in Klapuku land, right? It's like me saying, right, because I know about ShopRite or Spar, that I'm going to leave my job tomorrow and I'm going to do cattle and beef and soybean, and I'm going to sell it to them. And then I forget that it takes almost a year for a calf to grow to become a cow. I have to do lots of things to get to a point. So I'm not going to get paid for a year. How's that going to work? That's not realistic. So, but people who have done very well, that's what they told me, what they've done is they've actually gone to a potential customer and said to the customer, you know what, will you buy from me if I leave my job tomorrow? The guy looks at them and says, Bayo, I'll buy that bottle of water from you tomorrow morning. Let's do a contract. Then I go to my employer and say, you know what, boss, I'm leaving. And the guy thinks, you're mad. Yeah, I'm mad. I'm leaving because I've got a customer. But if you don't have it tied down yet, why are you leaving a job? I wouldn't. So the point I'm making is that tie it down. Be absolutely certain about what you're going to do, rather than go for this dream of, yeah, I'm going to run my own business. But it's not easy running your own business. It's very difficult. I'll tell you, when I ran my own business full time, I ran it in Birmingham, right? In the UK. I had to pay VAT. I had to do all the books. I had to do everything myself. It's not easy. It's very difficult. But I had to do it because I had no choice, right? If I had a choice, it's a different matter. So my advice all the time would be, tie up the source of revenue, but be realistic. Don't live in dreamland, right? And also, the other thing you haven't asked is expenses as well. A lot of people go into business with lofty ideas of a nice office, it's nonsense. Start very small. Start with the basics. Spend no money at all. Do not spend money. You're looking for income. Why do you want to blow money? Until you start making money, you cannot spend money. I wouldn't. Well, I don't like spending money anyway. But you've got to hold it down, keep it tight. And everybody who's done well, when you ask them, they always tell you the first thing is look after every single source of expense and make sure you have lots of revenue. That's it.
My question is based on the policy side of things.
The what?
The policy side of things. So you're doing very commendable work in this market, but all of that would come to nothing if the policies that encourage and sustain being an entrepreneur in this market are not looked at. So my question is, what sort of support is PEPZ doing or giving to the government to ensure that there's solid structures through which entrepreneurs can thrive in this market?
I don't know how to phrase this. I'm not a diplomat, by the way. So I'm going to be very sort of crude. The problem on this continent is that policy making is not done with a lot of rigor in terms of what goes into it. A lot of policy making is done on the hoof, right? So Bayo sees something, and Bayo decides next week, from Tuesday onwards, this is going to be the new policy on SMEs. What's the research gone into that? Nothing. My friend told me at dinner, or my sister-in-law told me that she couldn't get this, so that's the new policy. But you can't base policy on that, can you? So for me, the problem is that we don't do enough research. We don't do enough regulatory impact analysis before we come up with policy. Not some vague idea of, well, we will do well, which is nonsense. But it will tell you that if I increase tax by 2%, we will have 20 more businesses. Minister, how did you get to that point? Because we've done a simulation model. If you look at these particular variables, this is what happens. That's the difference, I'm afraid. So, I'm afraid...
So is there hope for Zambia then?
Again, it's an Africa-wide problem. It's not just Zambia. It's an Africa-wide problem. If we're going to be competitive on this continent, then we have to put more rigor into the basis for policy decision making. It's very simple. And otherwise, it's going to be hit and miss. Yes? It's going to be hit and miss. As in, I'll make a policy statement today, maybe it works. Having said all of that, I spoke to some guys I met from the African Development Bank, and they've done a lot of work on policy papers that would help ministers across the continent make good decisions. So I saw a paper in agriculture, for example, that the guy sent to me. Very impressive work. So on that front, on that one, I know there are individuals who are doing some work. The question is, to what extent are those papers taken into consideration before policies are made? I can't answer that. I'm not a politician.
I wanted to ask whether PEPZambia supports social enterprise initiatives, and if so, how does one balance between impact and profitability for social enterprise initiatives? Thank you.
Difficult question, because we'll support anybody who's any business, any for-profit business. But you're quite right, actually, that in this day and age of environmental consciousness, of inclusiveness, we do have to be careful, and we need to know that a business is a sound business, not just to rip people off, but to contribute something locally. So, to that extent, yes, we would encourage social enterprises. But the primary thing for us is this: are you profitable? Are you profitable? And again, I'm going to get into trouble for saying this. Social is good, but those are other considerations we would look at. But the first thing is we won't discriminate against a social enterprise. Because of course, a social enterprise will be environmentally conscious, will be much more inclusive, we hope. But it doesn't mean that normal for-profit businesses aren't inclusive. It doesn't mean they're not taking care of environmental issues. So it's an interesting debate, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not an expert on social enterprises, so I'm not sure I'm qualified to answer the question. But all I would say is, from my thinking, is that, look, are you going to make money or not? If you're going to make money, we'll talk. If you're not going to make money, then you know what? Yeah, it sounds good. So did I answer your question?
You both a Nigerian and
And at what point in the Zambian curriculum do you think we should be talking about entrepreneurship as a career or professional choice when we're all being guided to be an accountant, lawyer, or doctor?
Yeah.
At what point do you think we should start talking about it and giving it as an option rather than the thing you will get into because you couldn't become an accountant?
I'm going to use myself as an example. When I was there, my parents, typical African parents, I'm going to get a flipping degree. Most things, why do you have to do it? Because you have to. That's what you have to do. But you're absolutely right. Do we all have to? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We can't all be doctors, lawyers, and accountants. The problem is we're corralled, we're forced into thinking that's all you can do, and we miss out on a lot. But to answer your question, what is it we need to do? Because that's much more positive. The first thing is I told some students from UNZA the other day, I said, nobody owes you a living. Nobody owes you a living. You finish your degree, that's where it ends. You're on your own. Nobody owes you a living. Why do you think somebody should give you a job? What for? I don't know you're living. The government doesn't know you're living. You've been trained and educated. That's it. End of story. Go away. Yes. Either go and get yourself a job or make yourself attractive, but nobody owes you a thing. Right? Having said that, I'm not saying education is bad. Education is good. We need to be educated. But you know what? We also need to decide that we cannot all be accountants. It's not possible. Some of us have to be traders, technicians, experts in different things. That's what makes the society go around. Different skill sets. But the problem is, and this is a problem with how do I say this? Problem with colonialism, actually, is that a lot of us see white-collar jobs as the ultimate. Because that's how our parents were raised. They were raised to listen to what you were told, go to a good school, wear a nice shirt, wear a tie, and leather shoes that make that sound when you walk. Everybody in the village wants to wear leather shoes. And the only way you do that is to get a job in the city. Civil service job or a nice job. So that's the ultimate aim. So my grandfather, my parents, obviously all went to do that. And they drum it into you from age 2 that you will get a job. So when you're young, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a doctor. Rubbish. You ask most kids in the UK, what do you want to do when you grow up? I want to be a train driver. African kid train driver, you get slapped. What do you want to be a train driver? Train driver? I sent you to ISL, a good school, you want to be a train driver. So it's the same thing. We kill the entrepreneurship spirit. We kill the spirit of being open-minded, right? So we don't encourage it. The then question is, okay, fine from what I've said, so what do we do? My view is this: we start teaching entrepreneurship from a very early age. You know what? If you're very good at maths and English and all that kind of stuff, we'll section you, and not section you. We'll put you into a stream, and you're academic. You go and do that. But if you're not, for goodness sakes, what's wrong with technical skills? What is wrong with vocational skills? I spoke I was at an event in Lagos with the head of Nestle Nigeria, and you know what he told me? He said, I didn't go to university to study. I did vocational training. And from that, I'm where I am now. So they value vocational technical skills. Here we don't. Because it's seen as, what are you, a technician? It's not very good. Whereas that is what makes money, actually. But everybody's needed. So it's not one versus the other. It's not lawyer versus technician. It's lawyer and technician. So what do? I think we introduce entrepreneurship in the schools. I think we encourage kids to have an open mind. None of this, you must be a lawyer, doctor, or an accountant. And that's it. There's more to life than that. So we have to open it up. We have to do more. And if your kid, or your brother, or your sister says to you, I don't want to go to university, I want to strike out. You know what? I'll encourage it. It sounds bizarre. I will encourage them 100%. Because that's what they want to do. They know what they want to do, let them do it. So education is useful, do not get me wrong. We need specialist doctors who can do specialist research in cancer, in this, and that, and the other. But we also need technicians who can run the machines. Because that's the problem we face in Africa at the moment. We have lots of guys, and I say it all the time, by the way, I have lots of guys with wonderful degrees, PhD, Chartered Institute of Engineers, Chartered Electrical Engineers, sits in a nice office, but when he gets to do the job, then we go to South Africa to bring a technician in. Wonderful. So we have young guys in Lusaka doing nothing. We have lots of accountants and engineers in the big jobs, in the big offices with a nice new car, flash car. But when it comes to actually fixing the machine in the hospital, who's going to fix the X-ray machine? Nobody. So we go to South Africa to get somebody to fix the X-ray machine. How's that working? So this is where the key issue is. Entrepreneurship and vocational skills. We need it aplenty here. We need lots of it. So yes, schools, kids, keeping an open, it's just basically an open mind. Everybody is useful, and we shouldn't discriminate. Everybody is useful.
They are not born, huh?
Oh, sorry. So I didn't born. Well, okay. Let me give you this example. Sorry, I should answer that question as well. You see, I'm going to get into trouble big time for this. I've been running projects for 22 years, and sometimes we do these programs when we go to a poor village, and you see a person selling 10 mangoes, and then we help them to sell 20 mangoes from 10 mangoes, and then someone tells me that's development. It's not. Are they an entrepreneur? No, they're not. All you've done is increase their ability to sell a bit more so they can buy a new bicycle. Yeah? They're not an entrepreneur. They're not an entrepreneur. Forget it. However, if one of those people says, you know what, I'm not going to sell mangoes, I'm going to buy mangoes from all of you, and take it to Lusaka to sell, and I'm going to make more money. And I'm going to come back and encourage you to grow more, sell you fertilizer, you grow more mangoes, and take it back to Lusaka again next week and sell even more. That's an entrepreneur. So what am I saying here? You cannot train me to be an entrepreneur. Sending me on a 4-day course in Chipata to listen to somebody to tell me how to improve is not making me an entrepreneur. It's just making me earn a little bit more money, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. But entrepreneurs are born actually. They will come out of any particular situation, right? And I don't think you can train somebody to be an entrepreneur. It's like going to university to study entrepreneurship. I think it's a waste of time. Sorry. You can tell me about it, but do I need to study it? No thanks. No thanks. I need to study how to read and write and how to add up. Yes, I do need to study that because I need to be able to know how 1 + 1 = 2. Yeah, I need to know that. But how to be an entrepreneur? How can you teach that? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. So, have I answered your question?
Yeah.
I left a very good job in Kenya, drove all the way to Zambia, partnered with my friend here, Panji, and we started an advertising company. So all that you're saying today, I'm just nodding because I understand that. And I also lived in Nigeria, so that's why I know a bit of...
so you have fire in your belly?
The fire is there in the belly. So my question is about building capacity in terms, and you mentioned that when you're talking about your company, and especially when you're an entrepreneur and the funds are not there immediately, but at the same time you need to do the job so that you can go to your clients, and especially in the service industry. You can go to your clients and present your ideas, and then it becomes a challenge to actually, because you're not paying anyone like a lot of money to retain them, but they're not seeing the vision. So what's your advice in terms of how to encourage people who perhaps are not partners or shareholders of the company, but you want them to be with you and maybe for a long time, so that in the future then it becomes that they are actually part of the company from the get-go, as much as you're not paying them the real quarter from the start.
I did a consulting assignment in Serbia, in former Yugoslavia. And the way I had a team at that time was fantastic, really clever guy. He said, Bayo, what we're going to do is, we're going to write into the program that there's a profit share. Initially, I thought, profit share, what does that mean? He said, you're going to earn a lower fee, but at the end of the period, whatever profits there are, you'll be part of the profit share scheme. And this is how the scheme works. You can take it home and read it and understand. Well, you know what the problem is on this continent? We're very reluctant to share with other people. So, if I run a company, and I'm telling you this now with hindsight, not because I'm clever, I'm not. It's hindsight, from learning from other people, including yourself. Is that if I run a company in Zambia tomorrow, I would give all my employees a share of the company. And you know what I will do? I will drop your salary a little bit and give you shares in the business. If you don't turn up, you don't make money, end of story. So if the company doesn't make money, because you know how it works? Typically, I as the owner of the business, I work for you guys. I pay you every month. And then when you don't turn up because there's a funeral, doctor's getting married, there's traffic on the road, it's too cold in the morning, what's your other excuse? Something happened in the house, in the compound. So I'm thinking to myself, hang on a second, how does this work? You're not adding value to the business. But if you're part of the business, and you know that some of your earnings at the end of the year comes from being part of the business, you know what? You get yourself to the office. Even if there's traffic, even if it's cold, even if there's a funeral, say I'm at the funeral house, boss, I have to go to work. And they say, but it's a funeral. Yeah, I know, it's a funeral. But you know the money I'm contributing? It comes from my pay. so I need to go down. The point I'm making is that we have to start sharing. And this goes to a bigger question that you haven't asked, which is, why is it, and I'm sure you've noticed this, that with most African companies, when they're set up, when the owner is alive, the company is fantastic. The day the owner pops off, the business goes down, right? And all the other people are employees. So the moment that person goes, the son who's been in America for the past 15 years suddenly pops up. And because you've been in America, you think you can run a company in Zambia. No, you can't. Or because you're an expert in IT, you could suddenly come and run your father's business. No, you can't. You'd have no idea how the business runs. So business goes down. Whereas, if the owner of the business says to everyone, top management, guys, you've been working with me for 5 years. I'm going to give you 2.5% of the business. Right? The salary is not going to increase from now on. That 2.5%, you cannot cash out until a particular point in time. Guess what? Some people would resign because they say, no, I don't want that. I want my money on Monday. So you get rid of them because they're not loyal. Okay? Those who stay with you, you know they're loyal. And they will stay with you to the very end. So you reward them. It's simple. You reward them by making sure they also gain in the business. So when the business shuts at 5 o'clock and the customer turns about 1 minute past 5, they will open the doors. Rather than, I've been to some shops here where they say, we close at 17 hours. I'm saying, I am a customer, I've got money to spend. No, we close at 17 hours, go away. And I'm thinking, what kind of business is this? Whereas the owner of the business would open the door. Because if your company, if I came to you and said, look, I've got a proposal for you to do some work for me, even if it's 20 hours, you say, you know what, sit down, let's talk. Whereas an employee would just say, you know what, we're closed. Because they want to go home. So for me, you have to have a stake in the business. Now, you're going to say, is it practical to do it as a small business? No, it's not, you're right. So for a small business, a new business, what I'm saying is not practical. But as the business grows, as you start to have manager for finance, manager for marketing, manager for human resource, then I think you need to start bringing in some ownership scheme. Because it makes it work better. Because the more stake you have in the business, the more you look after it. It's simple. That's why when you look at a small business where the mother or father is running the business and they've got their kids in there, the kids work flat out. Flat out. My mom used to run a catering business and I would come during the holidays and work for her. Without actually, she never paid me anyway. But I would work because that's where my school fees came from. So it's simple. Because if you like, in a way, I was being selfish. There was an interest. I knew that if she made more money, then I got to have more pocket money. So it's very simple. Same with the business. If your employees have a stake, as the business grows bigger, then they're more likely to put more in.
What advice can you give to such an entrepreneur? I'll probably give an example of, let's say, somebody in the maize trading industry in Zambia.
In the what?
Maize.
Oh, maize.
Yeah. You can't export outside the country where it's good money. Yeah.
I don't trust your question. I don't know where you're going with this.
Just give you a reality check. Because if you have invested all your money in such a business, and now the government closes up your doors, how are you going to survive? Looking at the bill, I don't know how long it will take.
But seriously, it's a difficult one, because this is one of the issues on the continent of policy somersaults, where policy changes overnight, and you're suddenly caught out. Honestly, the only way is to try and do some advocacy, to say, look, how do you get it changed? There is no textbook answer to the question you've asked. It's a difficult one, because if it's to do with food security in the country, then the politicians have a right to look after the food security in the country. But of course, you've committed yourself to delivering a commodity across the border and your stock. So it is a very difficult one. I don't know what the answer is. Honestly, you go and see the minister and you say, boss, please help.
Being a trader like I am, is it possible to access using that platform Solwezi from Lusaka? So, and how different is it from Kukula in your case, since you're funded by DFID?
We have a fund, like I said to you, based in northwest Zambia, but because we're not specialists in venture capital management, we've outsourced that to Kukula Seed Fund. So Kukula Seed Fund have an agreement between us and DFID to manage the funds on our behalf. in Northwest Zambia. So if you come up with a business proposal, you can either send it to me and I forward it to them, or you can go directly to them and say, you know what, I've got this idea. It could be a trading business as well. It could be manufacturing, it could be anything. As long as it's a good, profitable business, and it's not something illegal, like prostitution or gun running or casinos. Yes? Otherwise, if it's a legal business, no problem at all. You will go to them, they will look at the idea, and they will tell you, yeah, we can work with you. And one thing, I'll just reiterate the point, is that if they were to invest in the business, it wouldn't just be saying, here's a check for $50,000 and go away. It'll be, here's a check for $50,000, and we're going to give you $10,000 worth of technical advice and support directly. So the money is there, but there's somebody there as well to help you with the business. Because what we find oftentimes is that you have a technical idea, you're a specialist, an engineer or a farmer, or whatever. You know your business, but you're not an expert, to answer your question, in accounts. You're not an expert in HR. You're not an expert in logistics. So we will provide that additional support to make sure you focus on what you're good at, which is technical bits, to make A plus B to make C, and then we help you with the what I call the backroom operations that makes the business tick. Collecting your debts, paying your people, your check, your bank statement, all that stuff. We'll provide that as technical support.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and it's free of charge.
Well, we've come to the end. Bayo, your last words?
It's difficult. It's been a pleasure, and all I would say is I also should, actually, before I go to the last words, I also should practice what I preach. So one of these days, you're going to face some stiff competition from this person here. So I'd like to do business as well. I used to run a small business, it didn't work out, and I ended up doing this. But you know what? In the end, we all go back to what makes us happy. And I think running a business makes you happy. It also gives you sleepless nights, high blood pressure, your spouse thinking you're completely mad. Because why do you want to do this when your friends have a nice job doing stuff? But look, in business, it's very simple. As I said to you, it's consistency, it's focus, it's discipline. And that's all it is. And it doesn't matter what the idea is. It does not matter what the idea is. Any idea may sound silly, but the question is, are you sure about it? No, is your friend sure about it? If you're not sure about it, then why should I put money in? Because a lot of times people come up to me and say, Mr. Bayo, look at my idea. And I say to them, Iwe, look, I can't put money into this thing. It doesn't make sense. Will you put your money into it? No, I want you to invest in it. So you've got to be honest with yourself. I know it's difficult sometimes, because some of us have delusions of grandeur. Of course, I also see myself as a sort of big chief or something. And I think that's where people who do very well, they're very thorough. They know everything about the business. Every single thing. For example, if you're going to sell produce, you should know what the market price is. You should know what the factors are, what the input factors are, who are the competitors, what are they doing right, what's your competitive advantage, why should you do it? Not just because everybody's doing it, so I'll do the same thing. It's not going to work. So I keep telling people, you've got to be a master of that particular art, of that particular trade. And it's the same with sport, by the way. I like sports, because sports is like business. If you look at sportsmen who do very well, it's exactly the same thing. A sports person who does very well knows exactly. To take Usain Bolt, he knows what he needs to eat for breakfast. He knows how much more improvement it's going to make. And it's the same with business. The same attitude, focus, consistent, and discipline. Those are my last words. Thanks very much for listening.
Thank you.